So that said, let's learn about Max Verstappen because I want to know what makes him function because I'm sure they're going to cover his personality here. And I really think it's because his father, but again, I'm just making judgments without knowing the facts. Okay? And it's just some interviews I've watched of him. All right? So let's watch. I'm really curious about this one. I genuinely I genuinely am. And I'm also it's Formula 1. I like it. If you like Formula 1, let me know. Oh, and if you like Formula One, let me know who you're rooting for. Genuinely, I think I want Hamilton on top. Who else do I like? Ricardo is back. He's doing okay, but let's see how he does. Sebastian Vettel left. He was my boy. Vettel was one of my guys. He left. Alonso, I'm rooting for Alonso. He's not doing great right now, but I'm rooting for him. He's a good guy. So those are my top few drivers right now.
Max Verstappen has been karting since he was 4 and been winning
Checo,
ever since.
Checo.
What was his driving style like and
Lando,
how has it
he's good too.
developed over the years to the point where he's won 2 world championships? Well, Max was actually driving before he was 4. His dad put him on a quad bike, and that's a key thing here.
Before he was 4, guys. Is that before you can write and read? If you develop your inner ear, okay. One of the strongest abilities that professional race drivers have is developing their inner ear. That's the area of your body, I guess. That if you're a doctor, please correct me here if I'm wrong, but that's pretty much what gives you your that's your INS, inertial navigation system, something from a plane. Yeah, that tells you where you are, which way you're moving. So if there's someone pushes you, if you couldn't feel the pressure on your body, your inner ear would tell you you're moving left, right, up, and down. You know, when you're in an elevator, besides feeling the G forces in your feet when the elevator is going up, that inner ear is telling you what's happening. So if you're young and develop that inner ear skill early on, and your ass is attached to the seat of that car, when your car starts moving, sliding, or anything, you're gonna know about it way before a regular person. So him starting to drive at 3 years younger than 3 is wow. And would you do that? I would love my parents. I would have loved my parents to do that. I would have loved my parents to put me in a go-kart when I was 3 years old. Would I do that to a kid? 3 years old? If those tires catch each other, 2 cars side by side, that cart is flipping upside down. I'd be scared to put a kid in a car at 3 years old.
Max's dad is Jos Verstappen, an ex-F1 driver, and his mum Sophie Kumpen, who karted with the likes of Jenson Button and Jarno Trulli. So he must have strong racing DNA, but also his
dad was a
brought him
Formula
up
1 driver.
around racing, both in the paddock of F1 tracks and at the karting circuit. So he was raised to be a winner.
He knew what went wrong in his career, and we tried to do it better now. So he was trying to make Verstappen 2.0 really.
And
He's living his dad's dreams, it seems like. I don't know. Isn't there something that says, let your kids discover who they want to be, don't force your dreams on it? Or is that I don't have any kids, so I don't know.
you can see that. In this clip, Max is 12 years old, racing in BNL karting series, and he was incredibly quick. But how exactly was he driving? The first thing to note is that these are karts. The driving style is going to need to suit what he's driving, so it's not going to be exactly the same as he drives a Formula 1 car. But there are some clues. Just watch this. Max starts a fair way back on the grid, but is absolutely unstoppable. And even at this early age, you can see
Dude, he's just literally passing everyone.
just how aggressive he is. Look at that dive bomb. A little bit of contact, but that's kind of how it's done in karting. It is super aggressive, to be fair, but you have to be at this level of karting. He makes more moves and moves up the field, but as you get towards the front of the pack, the standard of drivers is higher. And of course, they are then harder to overtake. But Max still sends it. A little more contact this time, but still a
He's taking the inside line, late braking, going into a mini slide and pushing the other driver slightly out of the way and using him as a wall to stop his slide just to pass him. I mean, it's a legitimate racing technique in karting, but it's it's kind of a, if I did that to someone in GTA, they'd be yelling at me.
Fair move. Then he gets his head down and catches the pack in remarkable
It's pretty impressive
time,
though. Freaking
even
impressive.
deploying a little human DRS. Then this is the most Max move of the lot. He has the run, but he's still a fair way back and dives
He
on the
skipped
brakes,
F2, yeah.
braking too
Because
late.
of who his dad
really.
is probably
Just
too.
look at the understeer that he gets. But he's already compromised the other.
Not saying he didn't prove himself, but I'm sure his dad had the connections to say, hey, check out my son, he's doing some amazing things. Not taking any credit away from him. You can't fake yourself into this sport, guys. You can't. And you can't win championships either. Even if you have the fastest freaking car on the track, things are going to go wrong. Your emotions are going to get in the way. To consistently win, as much as I don't like his personality because he just seems like an asshole, to consistently win in this sport is an unbelievable achievement. And I'm not taking any of that away from him. I wish I could do it, you know?
Driver's racing line. He gets him back, but a lot of this is showing the other driver that you
Riley.
are coming through. And after a couple more corners, he gets the job done. You can see that even at 12 years old, Max is racing at a super high standard, but is still making moves and winning from the middle of the pack.
He's 12 years old. Guys, I am 40-some. I'm 41. Oh my God. I'm 41 years old, and I wish I was doing this right now. Not you know, he was doing it when he was 12. Who would be want a cart? Who wished they had a cart at 12 years old, let alone winning championships?
And Max's karting career was remarkable,
Yeah,
winning
boy. Don't
almost
tell anyone.
everything. He won 2 European championships against the likes of Charles Leclerc.
A sketchy turn by Leclerc hands over the keys of the second position to Max.
Then in the World Championships, he was incredible, often leading from lights to flag. And that is remarkable because in karting, it's really hard to pull away. You often have really tight trains of karts, meaning you can never rule out a dive bomb from a kart behind. And you can start to see some of the things we see in F1 now, such as Max rarely making mistakes and being able to deliver lap after lap at an incredible pace.
Thanks for
So
liking
here
it,
he
FIFA.
won the race and took the World Championship, which caught the eye of several race teams. So in 2014, Max made the move to Formula 3 with Van Amersfoort Racing. And this isn't typical. Normally drivers will go to F4 or Formula Renault before making the move to F3, but Max made the jump very quickly.
I think the perfect step for me to jump in a Formula 1 car. The car is a little bit underpowered, but it's, I think, perfect to get the perfect skill.
So now Max
So in Formula 3, you need to learn how to manage aerodynamics and tire wear better. That's the main skills you need to have in Formula 1. Aerodynamic management, he's talking about mostly like stuff like you have less traction at slow speeds. You have to manage the wind, gusts of wind. So you gotta know which way the wind's coming from and how to compensate for it. You need to know about if a driver cuts in front of you, in the front of the turn, they can take your air away and you lose all downforce in the middle of the turn. So all this kind of stuff. Or you might want to stick out one of your edges outside of the other car to gain more downforce in the inside of a turn. So he's got to learn the aerodynamics of Formula cars. And then tire management is unbelievably difficult. If you guys did any Formula 1 racing in simulators or even GTA, is pretty good. Tire management is crazy. So no wonder he just needed some time in something where he can just learn those skills. He pretty much had all the other skills. I mean, no one could compete with him. Does anyone watch Formula 3 here? Because as much as I like Formula 1, I can't get into those two things.
was still very young and up against some really talented drivers. Drivers like Antonio Giovinazzi, LMP2 driver Tom Blomqvist, IndyCar driver Felix Rosenqvist, and Formula E driver Jake Dennis.
I can't recognize any of them.
But his main rival was Esteban Ocon. who
I
was
recognize that
also
one.
Having an incredible junior career. That year in Spa, Max made one of the most incredible overtakes I've
You watch
seen
all
from
try?
him. A
Juliano,
proper masterpiece.
I don't know why I
Speaking
can't
of
get
which,
into it.
we need to thank today's sponsor, Masterworks. Formula 1 cars might be priceless pieces of history, but for some fans and even global
Let's see what
players
the
like
sponsor is.
JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, they can also be amazing investments. The logic is that cars like these can increase in value over time. However, it doesn't stop at cars. Fine art actually appreciated more than gold, real estate, and the S&P.
Okay, guys, this ad isn't for us. Fine art and classic cars can help protect your purchasing power. I don't think this ad is for me.
Last time inflation was this high. Masterworks allows anyone to invest in contemporary art without having
Oh my god. Yeah, this ad is not for us.
to spend millions of dollars.
Yep.
Masterworks just recently ticked over 682,000 users, and the results speak for themselves. Last year, Masterworks paid out over 20.
Do you see the amount of these arts? $12 million for something that looks like Red Rabbit. $12 million. Next, one of these videos we're gonna do is art prices, because I think that's the biggest scam ever. John Michael Baptiste Basquiat, not Baptiste, Basquiat is widely celebrated. $12 million for a piece of art.
$1 million in net returns.
Is this
to
NFC?
investors.
It's not even
Investment
NFC, guys.
in art has doubled in the last
That's what we were just talking about. $12 million.
year, and that's probably because art prices rose by 29% in 2022, despite the global financial troubles. And that's more than fine wine, luxury watches, and even classic cars. So if you haven't signed up before, then you can still skip the waitlist and see what Masterworks has to offer by clicking the link in the description below.
and give
now,
them
as promised, that overtake.
$12 million.
Look at this. Ocon passed him before Max outbraked him and stuck it around the outside of Lecumbe. An incredibly bold move. There was so much that could go wrong here, but you can tell Max really backed himself to get the car stopped and make the move. You can also see just how intelligent Max is with his racing. Ocon made that move across to cover the inside.
That's impressive,
but he
guys.
did
I
it
don't know what
pretty
to say.
late. Max knew that this would mean that Ocon would have to brake early, so he braked later, aiming at the outside line, and made it all the way past before the following left-hander. And it's easy to forget that at this moment, he's still only 16 years old.
Guys, that move seems like, oh yeah, just comment, obviously he's going to go on the inside, so he's going to have to brake early, and you'll have to change places with him, and go on the outside and brake late and go around him. Obviously common sense, right? But the part that's impressive is that happened in a second. So he's not thinking about this. It's just pure instinct. And yeah, that's impressive.
And already showing just how ruthless he really is. A properly formidable racer. In Formula 1, Max is famous for his driving style, but also how he likes his car set up on the nose. This means that the balance of grip focuses around the front tyres, with the car usually running the rear quite high, in order to put as much weight and therefore grip on the front of the car. This allows for a really fast turning and gives the car an incredible ability to pivot in the corner. It just goes where Max wants it to.
Yeah.
However, many drivers
That's
just
his
can't
driving
handle
tactic.
driving in this way. Gasly and Albon at Red Bull, but also Max's dad. Max sometimes races with his dad in GT cars, and this is what Jos said.
He thinks it's too oversteery.
I need the front more stiff.
And he
That's the thing, guys. The reason Max can do this and no one else can. So what he's doing is he's making his car pretty much nose heavy. That means especially when he's braking, that rear is loose. That rear wants to come out. I wish I had a car with me. I know I have. Look, didn't you? Someone gave me one. Huh. But anyway, what happens is, let's say this is the car. This is the front. This is the back. Obviously in gaming I do this a little bit, but I have no control. He's late braking and his rear is loose. So because he's got such an amazing internal navigation system, that for him it feels natural to have he detects the car's rear loosening up before other people. And it's because he started this at 3 years old. So he can detect that before other professional racers, that the car rear is sliding, and uses that as a way to put the car where he wants, and then correct it with the slight opposite steering. And I mean, wasn't Ricardo the one who said he's not comfortable the way Red Bull cars were driving when he was originally on Red Bull with Verstappen, like a while ago? Yeah.
You can see this in this clip. It's Max testing
Hybrid
the former
powered, how you
Renault.
doing?
Very similar, but slightly slower than an F3 car. Now, look at the steering wheel and see how Max isn't correcting massive slides, but he is constantly balancing the car right on the limit.
Did you
all the
see
way
that
through
counter
the
steer,
corner.
guys,
If
right at the
another
edge?
driver got in that car set up in that way, I can tell you that they probably wouldn't be quite as refined. Max is driving the
impressive,
car
I gotta be honest.
completely on the edge, but it is incredibly smooth. If you just look at it again, you can see his incredible feel for the grip of the tyre and how he balances the car. He's dancing it through the corner.
But you know what happens when he does that? Those tires in the rear just get shredded. They literally just get shredded because they constantly have lateral motion left and right. So that's why his engineer constantly tells him to slow down, because he's literally shedding away inches of those rear tires, and that's why he drives slower than he has to, genuinely.
Coached hundreds of drivers in the past, and when I first saw the steering wheel here, I was super impressed at how incredible his natural feel
that's
is.
just
He
impressive.
just isn't thinking here. It's natural finesse,
Yeah.
something that's
Isn't
very
that what I just
difficult
said?
to teach. Now, all of this
Yeah.
means that Max, throughout his career, has driven a similar line through a corner. Drivers like Vettel and Schumacher V off a corner, turning the car hard in the mid-corner
I think that's
before
what Hamilton does
straightlining
too.
the exit. Many
Yeah.
other drivers like Jenson Button or Ricciardo would drive a smoother and wider arc.
That's
through
what
the
Ricciardo
corner.
does, yeah.
But Max is somewhere in between. His setup allows him to carry incredible speed through the corner and get great exit
I wanna
speed.
see that
He
chart, though.
balances
What does
the
he do
car
on the-
so well on the
on the
brakes and
chart?
on the entry to the corner that he manages to keep his minimum speed really high and get a great launch onto the following straight. This is a really difficult style to
wanna
get
see
right,
it
and
on
why
the
I
graph,
think many
though.
teammates can't match him. Anyway, later in that season, Max did something that
Hold on, guys.
crunched
Hold on.
onto the
Hold on.
on the brake.
I wanna
get
see which
great
one I
exit.
do.
Setup allows him to carry incredible speed through the corner and get great exit speed. He backed the car
I want to see which
hard
one I
in
do. Okay.
the mid corner before.
All right. I know which one I do. I do a worse version of these two. Can you guys see my mouse? Okay, you can see it, right? When I race, simulators. When I race, what I try to do is I go wide here and I try to cut this tighter. But it's not the good way, guys. I know I'm wrong for doing it, but I just aim for the center of the apex from here, and then I come out as wide as I can to pretty much here. But my problem is I come in with so much speed, I miss the center of the apex, so I don't even go like this. I go here, and then cut like this. So, and we are taught that the white line is the fastest line, and it's not. It's the red line, because Formula car, it's not always the fastest line. But in a car that can stop faster and accelerate faster than any other car, you use those brakes to slow down as fast as you can. You make a tight turn and then keep it as straight as you can to accelerate. Because, yeah, that's the faster line.
Straight lining the exit. Many other drivers like Jenson Button or Ricciardo would drive a smoother and wider arc through the corner. But Max is somewhere in between. His setup allows him to carry incredible speed through the corner and get great exit speed. He balances the car so well on the brakes and on the entry to the corner that he manages to keep his minimum speed really high and get a great launch onto the following straight. This is a really difficult style to get right, and why I think many teammates can't match him. Anyway, later in that season, Max did something that caught the eye of every F1 boss, and it showed his natural feel even more.
When he started winning, of course, the others were interested, and I think every Formula One team from the top 5 were interested in him. Then it was clear we want him, and we want him in Formula One.
It was at the Norris Ring street track in the wet, super tricky conditions on a super tricky circuit. Max was leading in the dry and was absolutely rapid. But there was a red flag, and whilst the race was stopped, it absolutely poured down. Max had to lead the field away on a wet track, and this is where he really shone. When you're leading in the wet like this, you're the first one to arrive at each part of the newly wet track. And so you have to use your ability and your experience to take a best guess at how much grip there is available. It's actually easier being behind in these conditions because you're able to follow where the person in front of you brakes. But Max absolutely ran away, taking chunks of time out of the entire field.
Now Max Verstappen, who will take yet another win. The man is on an incredible charge in this Formula 3 European Championship. Max Verstappen, we're watching a real star in the making here.
And in the wet, he was around 1.5 to 2 seconds per lap quicker than anybody else in the field.
And I've always said this, the best drivers are also incredible in the wet.
That's
it's the hardest
impressive.
driving you do as a pro driver. The risks are higher, you have the most to compute, and it pushes your ability the hardest.
And it takes away any horsepower advantage that the other side might have. So these cars are more similar to each other in the wet than they are in the dry.
This is where any flaw in your technique will show up really fast. Now, it would make sense that Max's technique in a really light and nimble F3
Yeah, boy, I guess so.
wouldn't really translate to F1. However, it has. When he got to Red Bull, the driving style worked perfectly, as it aligned with Adrian Newey's style of designing a car. In the pre-2022 regulations, Red Bull ran a car with a lot of rake, and with the balance being on the front of the car. Exactly how Max likes to drive. However, as we know, the rules have changed since, with the new generation of cars liking to be flatter to the ground. So, to begin with, Max adapted, changing to a more smooth and rounded style, keeping the minimum speed up through the corner and keeping the car flatter for more downforce from the floor.
You're welcome, brother.
But recently, it seems that Red Bull have got the car to work with a more traditional Verstappen style. And we made a whole video about why that suits Max and doesn't suit Sergio. You should check that out here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Guys, make sure you guys go. No, I don't want to watch that. Hold on, guys. Make sure you guys go give Driving 6-1. I check out their channel all the time. Give him a subscribe. And that was a really nice video they did. And I love his accent, man. He's got a great accent. Yeah. Anyway, go check him out. Dude, he started at 3 years old. I didn't know that. That's a new lesson. He started at 3 years old. You know, I still sometimes feel like, oh, you know, if I train my neck, you know, in a couple of years, I can do Formula One. Obviously, it's not a legit thought, but kind of puts things in perspective. You know, you gotta, for you to be a champion at certain things or to be really good, it's not just, oh, you were born at the right place, right time. He started at 3 years old. Holy shit. Wow, that's just holy crap. I mean, how do you compete with that? And he's in the beginning of his career. He's not even 30 yet. He's like 25 or 24. How old is he? He's super young. Yeah. Holy crap. He's going to end up probably getting a shit ton more championships.